Hello, everyone. We're back, and I'm at a new studio, and it is stunning and beautiful. And so we're just starting fresh because it's been a minute. I haven't talked to you guys in a long time. I'm really trying to lean into this like feminine energy era of my life where I do the things that feel good. I trust the timing of my life. I accept what I can't control. And for an over-controlling, anxiety-filled gal like myself, it's the hardest thing I've ever done, hands down. But for a second there, I wasn't feeling super energized by the podcast. I took a break. I took just a little break. And I want to feel really energized by the topics before I like put stuff out there. And I am genuinely really excited to be back to talk about this. And also life. Life got really busy. That's kind of been my response lately when people are like, oh, hey, like, where have you been? Haven't seen you in a while. I don't know why. I feel like I get kind of seasonal depression in the summer. I get really avoidy and really isolated. Like there was this meme that was like me coming out of my isolation period to see if all of my friends still like me. That's me. And that's where I've been. Just a little isolated and focusing on life. But again, I'm really excited to talk about today's topic. So before we jump in, let's recap a little bit. I left my job in November of last year. Like, wow, God, it has almost been a year, which is wild. And I have spent that time rediscovering who I am and what I want. I've been crafting. I've been spending a lot of time with family, spending time alone. Last night, we repotted every single houseplant in our house. So Godspeed to all of my plants. The last fiddle ficuses that we repotted, 2 of them, died. They just died, and we kept replacing them. And now I feel like if this one dies, we're just not going to do fiddles anymore. Like, they just don't love it here. They don't love it in Utah. They don't do well. But that's what I've been up to. And I've been thinking a lot about what I want in life and what I want to do to make money, because that's the reality of our society and the reality of my circumstances. I need to make some money. And for most of my time off, it's been a problem for future Jen. It's been a problem that I'm like, I'll deal with that in a couple months, And now it's a now problem for Jen. It's a now problem. It's imminent. See last episode where I talk about whether I'm going back into corporate life. I am. I've decided to go back into corporate life. At this stage in my life, it is the most efficient way for me to make money. It's the most efficient way for me to spend my time because I cannot sell 250 crochet bags a month. Like, I'm just not set up for that type of production level. So I'm going back. When I first left my job, I applied for 10 jobs, like straight out of the gate. Like that day, I think I went through and just applied for 10 jobs in a blind panic. And I had a few conversations, but I think the companies could tell that my heart just wasn't really in it. So I decided to halt the job search completely and just be. A few recruiters reached out and I took a few calls out of sheer anxiety and the need for validation of like, am I still good? Am I still employable? All knowing that I wasn't ready to go back. All knowing that I wasn't ready to accept a job. But it was just to kind of soothe my anxiety, which I think is a recipe for disaster for me and for the companies. And then all the tech layoffs hit really hard at the beginning of the year. And I decided that I was financially fairly sound to stop taking the calls, to soothe my own anxiety, to soothe my own fear and panic, and just stop taking the calls and just do the things that I wanted to do, just live my life without that kind of constant hum and drumbeat of taking the calls and planning your day around calls and answering LinkedIn messages. Then, as my month of needing to make money crept closer, I decided to officially put my hat in the ring. This was about April, May. And I wasn't super public. I was just taking calls. I was reaching out to a couple people that were close in my network and apply for a couple jobs. For some context, the last 3 jobs I've had, I was recruited. Somebody reached out to me and headhunted me. I wasn't looking, and someone reached out to me to try and get me over to this other company. So I had some pride going into this concerted job hunt. Yes, even after getting fired, I had some hubris. I had some hubris going into this. I bought into my own hype. And goddamn, did life remind me. Life reminded me that you ain't shit. And I think I kind of needed that. So first, I did some cold applying. I went on LinkedIn and applied for like 10 to 15 jobs. Did not get a 1 response or an interview at one of them, and got almost all rejections, and also just didn't hear back from most of them. And then I had a few warm introductions. Someone I had worked with previously who is wonderful and capable reached out to me about a company looking for a more ambiguous role. It wasn't a backfill. It wasn't an official role. It was kind of like, this is the need that we have, and we're thinking about crafting a role for it. And it was an expanded role to take on go-to-market strategy for the company. That's my specialty. I hit these companies, these tech companies, when they have evolved from one type of thing for one type of customer, and then many products for one type of customer, and like a full multi-product suite for a ton of different customers and buyers and industries. That's my thing. I did this at Weave, right? They started as dental software, and then they were like, we're communication software for all offices. And then Filevine, I did that as well. They were case management for personal injury, and then they were like, we're legal management for any legal work. That's kind of where I enter these companies. And I was in conversations with this company for like 6 months. I met 15 to 20 members of the team. I flew out to meet the CEO, like spent the day with the CEO, had a long conversation of like 3 hours of uninterrupted conversation about just the business and how we could jive together and how we could work together. I did a long ass assignment that probably took me like 20 hours because, of course, I'm a tryhard. So I was like, I'm going to do this perfectly. But it was this big assignment that I was going to present to the executive team. And all of my conversations throughout this time was like, okay, final step. Okay, one final thing. Okay, we should probably talk about compensation soon. Like these types of conversations. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start negotiating my life around this. When am I going to start? And the day came after the assignment, after all the interviews, that we were supposed to have a final talk about the official title and the official compensation. And for what I thought was going to be a verbal offer. And Lord, let me tell you about my expectations, okay? I just want to set the scene a little bit here. They were high. They were sky high. And like some of that's on me, but some of that's on them. Like I understand it's kind of both ways. I had been on a bit of a budget leading up to this, and I had this list. Because you guys know I live my life off of lists. But it was like, once I got my job offer, all these things could trickle down. It was like, okay, I could finally pull the trigger on all the things I need for my new office, my home office. I could start planning a small celebration weekend with my husband. I could start planning the rest of my fall and my fall plans around my start date. I could start scheduling that damn microneedling appointment that I have been putting off because of my budget. Like, so many things. My idea of the future was set. And that day I got an email from the CEO and the call got pushed. It was something like, my day is getting away from me and I want to ensure we have time for this conversation. And it got pushed from Friday to the following Tuesday. And in my brain, I started to think that something was wrong. I started to think that this was not a guarantee. I thought it was. Like I had flown out to the sea. Like I had gone through all of these hoops. I had met with everybody. Like at this point, I was like, they've got to offer me the job, mostly just because of all the time they've invested in me. I thought this was a sure thing, but I started to get nervous. And in the back of my brain, I started to think, what if I don't get it? And all weekend long, I agonized. I agonized for Tuesday. And oddly enough, Tuesday was also the day when I was supposed to hear back about my crochet bag business getting into a market as well. So Tuesday was important. Even my daughter was like, Tuesday. I was like, yes, Tuesday. Tuesday, my whole life is going to click into place and everything's going to be great. And by this point, like all of my friends and family know about this. I was excited about the company, excited about the team, excited about my role. And I was like dreaming up big things about my future and my financial outcome and all of these things. Like I had built a future in my mind. So Tuesday came and I didn't get it. The CEO said I wasn't quite senior enough and that they were going to put the job out for an executive search where like they hire a big fancy executive search team like SPMB and find other candidates. And the whole world collapsed in on me as I sat on the couch taking this call. I got choked up toward the end. Like I'm an emotional person. My tears are very close to the surface. And I was trying to stay positive and professional because he still was like, I still want to find a way to work with you. Maybe just not at this senior of a level. But my tears were there and I was getting choked up. So I got off the phone after being just very friendly and thanking him for his time. And I just sobbed. I did. I sat there alone on my couch and I sobbed. So not only did I not get the job, which does a number on your self-esteem, but all of the dreams and the plans that you made in your head, that I made in my head, were crushed. And I was like adrift. I felt like I had lost my anchor. I was just like, what am I doing? What is life? And I just sat there and I sobbed. And I also didn't get a notification about that damn market, which like we did end up getting into, but we didn't hear about it until like weeks later. So this Tuesday, again, like my daughter would like wink at me Tuesday and I'd wink back and I'd be like, Tuesday was a shit show. Tuesday was nothing like I thought it was going to be. And this was low. This was a low moment for me. I had a full dependency trickle down to-do list that I was supposed to do as soon as I heard back about the job in the market. Tuesday was my day, and it was the exact opposite of what I had hoped for. And probably more importantly, what I had planned for. It was a brutal week. It was a brutal week, mostly because of my expectations and my plans. So that's the thing about rejection. It's hard on your self-esteem. It's crushing to your self-esteem. But it can also destroy your idea of the future, which is, I think, why it's so particularly specifically painful. And I called my best friend, and she said something so remarkable for me as I was fighting through the tears. But I was also trying to like brush it off. I was like, I'm fine. Blah. And she was like, it's okay to mourn the loss. It is. It's a loss. It's a loss of expected plans. It's a loss for your dreams, for your hopes. Like it's a loss, and you have to mourn losses. You do, or you'll just sort of build that up in your body and it will surprise you in other ways. It'll come out and say boo when you're least expecting. So that's what I want to talk about today on today's podcast is how do we handle rejection? How do we navigate this job hunt, which I think a lot of you are in this position right now. I think I've talked to a couple of friends that are also kind of passively looking. It's a brutal market right now. It is impossible to get a job, and it is impossible to not feel like shit about yourself. So we're going to talk about how to handle rejection and how to navigate the job search and what are some of the best ways to move through this incredibly painful and inevitable human experience. So let's talk about first the roller coaster of emotions that is rejection. Sort of all the feelings that I ran through on that Tuesday, right? That Tuesday is going to live in infamy from now on. No more happy Tuesdays. But first, your thoughts. My thoughts started to spiral. What happens if I run out of savings? What happens if I run out of money? What happens if I can no longer afford the things that I need? Feelings. Mine for sure was like this tightness in my chest and my stomach and in my throat, and like kind of an uneasy queasiness in my stomach. Like it physically affected me. And I think it's important for us to recognize that with rejection, that it's not just a mental thing. Like your body feels rejection. Your body feels that fear and that panic and is responding. So you're pumping cortisol into your body and you're feeling unease, like your body is bracing for impact. Memories, like thoughts about all the past discussions I had, all the interview questions that I should have answered differently, how I followed up, how I didn't follow up, my salutation on my email. Like I started to pick apart all these pieces of what I had done, trying to figure out when I lost the job, when I wasn't good enough, what I didn't do enough of, what I wasn't good enough. And then lastly, urges to make the pain go away. So urges to reach for distraction, right? I have never doom scrolled more in my life than the week following this rejection, which made me feel even shittier, but you're reaching for distraction. I think you should understand that when you are going through rejection, and rejection from anything, like romantic rejection, rejection in your job, like any type, you reach for distractions you try to avoid. I was like obsessively checking my email, like refreshing, like Google refreshes for me. I don't need to refresh, but I was like refreshing my email to see if anyone else reached out to me or if this person just changed their mind and were like, oh my God, we made a horrible mistake. Delulu is where I was, a little Delulu there. And the urge to like rant on LinkedIn, which again, don't. Like talk to a friend before you rant on LinkedIn, because that shit's out there. What sends us into like aversive control is the thoughts, which may or may not map to reality. Like I'm not going to run out of money. I'm okay. And I have a partner and I have all these like things. I was going to be fine. But these unpleasant feelings, memories, and urges associated with it come up that may or may not map to reality. What if I'm unhireable? What if I never get a job? What if I'm actually not good enough and everybody's just found out? What if everyone thinks I'm dumb and I've just tricked everyone up to this point? Like these intrusive thoughts creep in. And when we come face to face with these thoughts and feelings, it's fucking painful. It is so painful. We don't run from things because they're wonderful and joyous. We run because they hurt. They hurt so badly. And our natural inclination when we experience pain is to try and make it go away. So my very first tip, because of the advice from my best friend, make space for your grief. Like you don't need to just pretend it was fine. You don't need to brush it off and be like, I didn't want it that much anyway. Like I did. You did want it, and that's okay. You wanted it and you made plans and you're grieving a loss. There is pain and difficulty so inherent in the job search. Like for all of you that have suffered layoffs and are looking for a new job, or there's a toxic workplace and you're just desperate to get out and you can't find a new job, like I see you and I commiserate with you. It is painful and it's so emotional. Your job is tied to so many deeply human things, like your ability to provide for your family, your status in society, your self-esteem. Now I said tied, like see episode number 1. If your entire identity is your job, okay, we need to fix that. But in order to find freedom and discomfort, we have to recognize that that is tied to our identity. It's not our whole identity, but it is tied. And we have to learn to make space for what's hard instead of running away from it. Making space means having the willingness to allow your thoughts, feelings, memories, and urges to be there. To just be there. One of my friends that was on the podcast, May Kell, she starts her podcast with, notice your breathing, There's no need to change or alter it. And I love that. I love that. Notice what's happening in your body without feeling the pressure to change or alter it. If you're feeling queasy, you don't need to go find a remedy for it. Like, if you're feeling uneasy, just let it be. I think that was really important for me for the first 24 hours after this rejection. And bonus points, let your partner know. I called my partner. I was like, hey, just so you know, this is what happened. I'm really fragile. I feel like I'm just plunging into a deep, dark hole in the earth that's just swallowing me up. And he was like, Roger that. Roger that. I'll see you in a couple hours. But let your feelings be there, but minimize some of the damage with the people around you. You don't have to accept and enjoy them. That's also a thing. You don't have to revel in your grief. All you need to do is stop trying to escape it. And instead allow yourself to experience what's hard. Allow yourself to experience rejection. Allow yourself to mourn the loss. Allow yourself to move through that at whatever timing and whatever activity or whatever things you need to do. And my biggest piece of advice here is to remove the shoulds for the next 48 hours. Don't say things like, I should have followed up more. I shouldn't still be so upset about this. I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up. That's what I said to my best friend. I said, I shouldn't have gotten my hopes up. And she was like, it's okay. You made plans and that's okay. So for the next 48 hours, if you have experienced a loss or rejection, get rid of the shoulds. There's nothing you should be doing. You should. There's nothing you should be doing. Just allow yourself to make space for the grief and the feelings that you're feeling. Next is acknowledge the rejection depression period. Acknowledge that you're going to go through a bit of an era of rejection depression. When you're caught up in this stress and fear and avoidance, it can be hard to connect with the life-giving parts of the world around us. Hello, avoidee, hello, isolation, good food, friendships. The parts of life that we typically enjoy can feel really inaccessible because we're so focused on these doom spirals in our head. And I'm a disorganized attached style. So I run the gamut. I run the gamut of feeling really avoidant, but then also clinging to the people around me. I get really messed up here. So for me, for the week following after this Tuesday, this infamous Tuesday, my mantra was keep doing the things. Keep doing the damn things. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep doing the things. Allow yourself to be a little muted and a little sad and feeling a little alien when you go to your yoga class, but go to your damn yoga class. Go to the gym. Go get coffee. Do the things that you would normally do. And it's okay if you feel fucking weird doing them. I remember walking into my first yoga class. I think I went at noon and my call was at 9. And I, for some reason, felt like everyone was looking at me. Everybody was like, this person's not good enough. And I felt that and I could feel that as I went, but I still went. So acknowledge that you're going to feel weird, but go. Never be embarrassed to struggle. Keep doing the things. A hack for me was doing one really productive and satisfying thing first thing in the morning. Not a quick win, but do the hardest thing on your to-do list first thing in the morning. Because action begets action. If you're feeling depressed and you're in your rejection depression era, do one thing in the morning. And that will domino a ton of other things throughout your day. Keep moving through your routine. Reach out to your damn friends. They are likely waiting to be depended on. I am usually the listener friend. I'm the friend people call when they're having full crises. And I feel really unworthy of ever expecting my friends to just listen to me or to need anything from my friends. But for sure, I'll move mountains to help you with whatever you need. But this is my disorganized attachment style coming into play again. So if you're a type A perfectionist person like I am, chances are your friends are waiting an opportunity for you to need them. Your friends are anxiously, eagerly awaiting for you to finally fucking need them. So reach out to them and just say, hey, I just need someone to hold me. I need someone just to listen while I vent. And your friends are excited about that opportunity. That's how you deepen your friendships and your relationships. My next tip. This is probably applicable to any rejection, but it's try once, but don't have desperate energy. Like I for sure emailed the organizer of the market just to check if acceptance emails have gone out yet. But I didn't email them 5 times. I didn't beg to be accepted. I just did one. I tried once. I definitely followed up with the CEO and listed a couple of examples of me operating at a high senior level, thanked him for his time, but I did not beg for the job. And I asked for feedback. In any rejection, especially jobs, thank the employer for letting you know about their decision and for their time and consideration. Demonstrate your genuine interest in the job or your genuine disappointment. Keep it brief, maintain a positive tone, and ask for feedback. Like, it's okay. It's okay to say, hey, I'm really disappointed by that. I was really excited about the job, but I understand your decision. Thanks again for your time. Manage your expectations. Like, let yourself be humbled. I thought about this all the time. I was like, I really needed it. I needed to be humbled. I needed to enter my learner phase again, where I didn't feel bought into my hype. I was like, I'm a constant learner and there are things that I'm good at and things that I am not good at. And I'm not going to get every job. And that was good for me. It was really good for me. Next, I keep a running list of my good qualities and my really good talking points. Like when you're in an interview and you say something and you're like, hot damn, that was good. Write it down. Write it down after and constantly refine that. After every rejection, it's an opportunity for you to refine your talking points, your story, your anecdotes. Your ability to adapt depends on your ability to reflect. And your ability to reflect depends on your ability to document. So if you haven't yet, get organized about your job search. Like keep some notes. I use Notion. Spoiler, I use it for everything. But where I keep track of the anecdotes that just like hit. The anecdotes where I was like, damn, I'm good. Or that, specifically was liked or engaged the interviewer. I keep a list of all of my achievements and my metrics. I keep a list of the questions and my responses so I can refine and get better. I keep a list of feedback that people give me. I keep a list of things I want to learn, things I want to get better, things that I need to understand better before my next interview. Take time to get organized about your job search so that you can systematically document what happened, what you learned, what went well, and what you want to refine. Next, diversify your identity. I am reading this book right now. It's called The Good Enough Job. Highly recommend for anybody listening. The Good Enough Job. We all know what it's like to work with people where their whole life and identity is their job. Like, are these fun people? Are these chill people? Are these people you want to do group projects with? Like, no. Because rather than hearing, hey, your idea isn't the best one, you hear, you suck, you're worthless, you're not good enough. And these people tend to be incredibly defensive and inflexible to a very flexible environment, which is work. When your identity is diversified, you can approach everything with perspective, calm, and humor because you are no longer 100% dependent on that job or this job or what have you. You don't have to take every conversation personal. Every conversation isn't emotional. And I think this really helped me with this rejection. Like, this rejection was a hard one, as you have heard. It was brutal. But because I had diversified my identity, I am no longer my job. I'm curious. I'm marginally funny. I crochet. I'm a good friend. I'm a wife who tries. I'm a mother who is trying to appreciate every antic and every weirdness about my teenage daughter. I like to be outside. I'm trying to be a better mountain biker. This may be a moot endeavor. And I'm trying to, incorporate more protein in my diet. There are things about me that are so much more than my job. And so when rejection hits, it only hits a part of you. It doesn't hit all of you. It just hits a part because everything else is steady. So you know how financial advisors are always diversify your financial portfolio, diversify your identity too, so that these hard moments, these rejections in your life just don't hit as hard. And all of a sudden, I can show up to work with the same ideas, the same experience, the same opinions, but my ego isn't as big because it isn't defending the only tenet of my life and my identity. Practicing discipline with your mindset. I have something on my phone, my lock screen, and it says, it's some Pinterest quote, but it's pretty, it's aesthetic. It says, everything comes to you at the right time. And this has been my phone screen for months. This has been my mantra for months. This has been something I repeat to myself every single day because it helps me, at least, when something doesn't work out the way I want it to, for me to believe that the universe is just trying to course correct me to where I should be. This is huge. And this first started when I got fired, that the universe knew that's not where I was supposed to be and that I was crumbling and then miserable and sad and felt terrible about myself and just hated every aspect of my life. And so it gave me a boot. It gave me a boot and was like, you're not going to leave, you coward, and booted me out of it. So I think it helps me practice and feel more calm to know and understand that the universe has got me and it is trying to course correct me. And so when things don't work out, it is okay because it's making room for something else. This sounds so woo-woo. I know it does. But I think actively practicing this mentality is kind of life-changing. It really helps you feel held. And I don't know, it's my yum. It's that's what I've been thinking. So if you faced a rejection like I have, this monumental rejection, let's move forward. Move through your emotions, feel them, mourn the loss of the plans, mourn the loss of the dreams, tighten up your budget. Okay, I did. I decided to go on a 2-month of appreciation. These are no-buys, 2-month no-buy, but I call them the month of appreciation because you're supposed to appreciate. It gives you the opportunity to appreciate all the shit that you already have. Know that it's not just happening to you. Reach out to me. If you have been facing rejection, message me on Instagram, message me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I also got rejected. And I'll be like, cool, me too. And you will know that you are not alone. We are all facing rejection, especially in this job market. Keep doing the things. Keep doing your routine. And try to trust the timing of your life. There's no need to force. There's no need to change or alter. Your life is going to work out. Things are going to work out. I know that things are going to work out. And be gracious in the face of rejection. So this big rejection that I got, they're still wanting to hire me just for a slightly more junior position. And I'm entertaining that because I stayed gracious and hopeful through this process. Like, you don't want to close doors. You don't want to slam doors. Everything in this world is a network thing, a community thing. Keep all those doors open. Don't burn any bridges, okay? So that's it. I mean, I do want to go through a couple of just general tips if you're on the job hunt as well, because I think I learned a lot through this, not only about how to handle rejection, but also just about this job hunt thing. Holy hell, it's exhausting. So like, if you're on the job hunt, take a deep breath. It's exhausting. It's like mentally exhausting. It's emotionally exhausting. My first tip, if you're on the job hunt, is make every cold apply a warm one. If you've applied for a job just cold, message the recruiter on LinkedIn. Connect with someone on the team that you're applying for and ask to chat for like 10 minutes about the team, the culture, etc. Ask for a referral if you know someone that is connected. Yeah, I know LinkedIn connections are like smoke and mirrors. I think I personally know like 15% of the connections on LinkedIn, but it's worth a shot. Like, if you see somebody connected with a job or a company that you're applying for, just reach out and say, hey, do you know anyone there? Would you be willing to just put my name in? Always follow up. My cocky ass didn't do this for a couple of positions, and my friend who referred me to a job had to give me the tough feedback that the team didn't feel like I really wanted the job. And they didn't feel like I was enthusiastic about it. Like, yeah, fair, because I didn't fucking follow up. Always send a follow-up, no matter what. No matter what. Like, just bar none. Send an email and say, hey, thanks for your time. Always. Talk about compensation early. Like, I can't believe I didn't talk about compensation until 6 months in. Like, that's wild to me. Like, if we had gotten to that position and this offer and we had had completely different numbers, what a waste of time. What a waste of my time. What a waste of their time. Talk about compensation early. And do not forget, you are bringing value to this company. Don't forget that. As this job hunt drags on and the job market continues to be brutal, don't trick yourself into thinking that this company is doing you a favor when they give you an offer. It's a two-way street, and you are also doing them a favor by doing the work that they need done. Do you know how long it takes to get a new hire approved in this economy? When I ran marketing at my last role, even getting backfills approved, like somebody quit and I was like, okay, I just want to backfill them. That was a struggle. I had to go do battle with my CEO and my grumpy CFO for every dollar. So if a company has an open rec and is hiring, they need someone. They need you. Don't forget that. This isn't a favor to you. It's a negotiation. So ask for what you want and talk about compensation early. Practice humility, but don't downplay your achievements. Oh man. Like, you don't need to come in being like, hey, I'm the shit, but like, don't downplay. Don't be like, oh, well, the team was really great. Like, no, I worked really hard and I drove X metric or I drove X initiative. Have confidence in your accomplishments. That's what you're trying to show your employer of what the possibility is hiring you. My interviewing tips, which do deteriorate. My first couple of interviews, I was like, that was rough. So they do deteriorate. So keep that as a muscle that you're practicing. But my quick interview tips are: do the small talk, engage in the small talk. If you don't engage in the small talk, you seem a little weird. Like, if you're like, let's just dive right in. It's like, that's a weird tone to set the call on. So do the small talk, but pick like one or two topics. Like, oh, it was a long weekend. How'd you spend your weekend? Or where do you live? Oh, I bet the weather's nice there. Like, pick one or two, but do the small talk, but keep it short. Nail your tell me about yourself question. Like I try to keep mine when somebody's like, well, what? Tell me about you. I don't walk them through my fucking resume. I don't take 15 minutes. Like, do not do that. When people do that, I'm like, I have your resume. I read it. You don't need to regurgitate that back to me. I keep mine to a punchy 3 minutes. It's a punchy, bold 3 minutes that has a kind of a story weaved through. Again, if you have a hard time with this, reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you craft your tell me about yourself response. It needs to be engaging. It needs to be short. It needs to be punchy. Ask questions throughout the entire interview. Like, don't just wait until the end to ask your questions. Don't be like, oh, I don't have any questions. I'll wait till the end. Ask your questions. Make the interview a conversation. Show interest in what they're telling you. Ask clarifying questions. Use this as an opportunity to show your skill and experience, even when they don't ask. Like, sometimes I'll say, like a recruiter will say something and I'll say, oh, my last company had the exact same challenge and we approached it this way. Because then it's more of a back and forth. And you don't have to wait until the very end to ask your questions. And you've also touted yourself a bit in a natural, organic way. And then lastly, always have questions at the end. Like when I am interviewing somebody and they're like, I don't have any questions. And I'm like, okay. This is where you're going to spend like 40 plus hours of your week and be here for like years and you don't have any questions for me? Red flag. Like, always have questions at the end and don't let time run out before your questions run out. Like if there's 5 minutes left and you're like, oh, it's all the questions I have right now. No, make something up. Make something up. Be like, what's your favorite part about working for the company? Tell me about how you resolve conflict. Tell me about your CEO. Tell me about what favorite perk you have. Like just make something up, but don't let time run out before your questions run out. Okay. For me, it's been a really weird job hunt. Unexpected and painful. But my biggest tips are be gentle with yourself, be kind to yourself. Don't let those intrusive thoughts come in that you aren't good enough or that you'll never get a job or that you'll run out of money. Be kind, be gentle. Don't stop doing the things. Don't stop doing the life-giving things that you need to get you out of your depression era. Figure out your plan forward, right? Documentation, what you want to do better, what you learned, what you're reflecting on. Figure out your plan forward and breathe. And remember that the universe is conspiring in your favor. You'd be surprised at how much that phrase has helped me through some shit in my life. The universe is conspiring in my favor. And that's it, everyone. So Godspeed to all of you who are navigating the job hunt. Again, reach out to me if you're struggling. I'd love to talk to you about it. I'd love to listen. I'd love to help you. Any connections I have, I'm happy to leverage those as well. But thanks for being here. It's good to be back. It's good to talk to you about this really painful experience. So thanks for letting me share, and I will see you soon.